So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and let's begin this session titled Readings and Reflections, in which the aim is, the aspiration is that we come together, we share what we have read during the week, anything that caught our attention, anything that was striking, that gave us beauty, or that confused us, in which we could maybe benefit from more discussion. The learning from each other's readings and learnings is basically the aspiration. So, as we begin this session, invoking the Mother's and Sri Aurobindo's grace and presence, the Divine's grace and presence, aspiring and praying for more sincerity, for more presence, for more attention, for more receptivity, so that we can absorb more, so that we can become more, so that these words don't remain mere words, they become our life. We are able to put these teachings practically, with or without effort, in our lives. So just taking 3-4 breaths of mindfulness to just bring ourselves fully here, and then we'll start sharing. Thank you. It's so interesting that as soon as I said, let's take a few breaths of mindfulness, the seagulls or the whatever geese, the sound started on the audio. So, very reflective of how our lives are, right? As soon as we say, okay, we want some peace, then the drama starts. Yes, so just funny, yes. So, I'm hoping that we have some sharings, all of us, possibly. So if there's anything, please unmute and kindly share. And if nothing, we can see what we need to do then. So I'm taking this to be a no. Okay. It would be really nice if we can take out some time during the week and get, because that's what it's all about, right? Otherwise, it can just be a book study and all, which is very structured, which is beautiful. But this is just an attempt to break, the conventional study and share what we are reading throughout the week. But
I can share something.
Okay, thank you.
My connection is not very good, so I will share. Oh, I cannot share, but uh,
I'll make you the host. Please share. Just give me 1 second.
okay.
Yes.
Um, where is it? Screen. Does it show? Sorry.
Yes, yes, we see your screen.
Okay, this is something we were reading with Nandini from the Synthesis of Yoga. The divine that we adore is not only a remote extra-cosmic reality, but a half-veiled manifestation present and near to us here in the universe. Life is the field of a divine manifestation not yet complete. Here in life, on earth, in the body, ihaiva, as the Upanishads insist, we have to unveil the Godhead. Here we must make its transcendent greatness, light and sweetness real to our consciousness. Here possess and, as far as we may be, express it. Life then we must accept in our yoga in order utterly to transmute it. We are forbidden to shrink from the difficulties that this acceptance may add to our struggle. Powerful, right?
Yes, thank you for sharing, Rohan.
Mm.
Would you like to, I don't know, say a few reflections on this? What stuck you and if you want to?
Yeah, well, yes, I think it condenses most of the idea of the integral yoga, right? Like uh, that the divine is not just a transcendent, separate from the world, but something that is present and near here. And this life, we don't have to abandon life to find God, but to to embrace our difficulties, accept our journey, and transmute whatever comes, and don't shrink from the struggle. Our task is to manifest these divine qualities in life. I think it's very beautiful, very great.
Yes, thank you so much. So, especially it addresses this thing, how for a very, very, very long time we keep things separate, right? Like this is my regular life, and this is okay, this is the experience I had, or this is the, I don't know, this is what I read, or there's something happened to me, but I don't know if it was real or not real, and it loses its power, right? We basically, because we are so focused on the material, on what we can touch, on what we can see, on what we can hold, on what we can grasp, that we let go of so much beauty that we have seen, the experiences we have had, the, I don't know, the miracles that we have been shown, and wondering that I'm not too sure, it happened, but did it, kind of a thing. So till we keep those separate, it will never, it's like we have not even begun, because anything that we are not giving power to, anything that we are not giving our, Vishwas, how they say it, our faith, our belief to, how will it remain? How will it retain its power? So we cannot keep it separate. There has to be, the bringing of that into this life. And what struck me was the last part where it says that, where Sri Aurobindo says that we are forbidden from keeping away just because if we are scared or if we feel we don't have the courage to do it. So that's something that struck me the most, that now that we know we have to, we must, we don't have a choice, we are forbidden to shirk away from this responsibility, for each one on himself, that we must work on ourselves. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, Ritu, you had joined late. So basically, here we are sharing anything that stuck us where we were, anything we were reading or we have read that we like, that we would want to share. So at your end, if there's anything, you can please unmute and share. And obviously,
Yeah,
it's
not as of now.
okay. Yeah.
I posted something. Maybe you can just pull it up. We can just read the first part. It's very beautiful. This is something that, uh, it moved me so much when I read it the first time. It's about Ganpati Muni, and it's the last link on the WhatsApp, or
Okay.
I can, yeah. So Ganpati Muni was a disciple. Well, I don't know if he was technically he was a disciple of Ramana, but he's the one who gave Raman Maharishi the name, So, and his disciple Kapali Shastri, who was actually with Ramana and Ganpati Muni, then I think it's very beautiful. He has come to the mother. He came to the mother and Shobando. He's obviously he was there. He's written very beautiful books, but this is just specifically since this is about any this things that have inspired us, that any writings, it's very beautiful, his first meeting, so maybe somebody can read, and just we can just read like the first page. It's just not very very beautiful, just like his coming to Raman Maharishi. So maybe somebody can read.
Yeah, I'll read.
Yeah.
The Wanderling. For the various Sri Ramana followers, advocates, disciples, adherents, and historians, Ganpati Muni is pretty much known as a person that first gave the venerated Indian holy man the title oblique name Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharishi. And as well in 1911 introduced him to the Bhagwan's first Western disciple, an Englishman by the name of Frank H. Humphreys. Ganpati Muni was born in 1878, 1 year before Ramana. By the year 1903, when the two of them were just into their mid-20s, Ganpati Muni had heard rumors of a highly attained young Swami called by a small circle of disciples Brahmana Swami, living near the southern Indian temple city of Trivantumalai, situated along the lower reaches of the holy hills Arunachala. In that year, 1903, Ganpati Muni travelled from Andhra to the foot of Arunachala, and before a group individuals gathered at the Adi Mudi shrine on the outer Girivalam loop along the base of the mountain, interpreted for the group a famous invocatory shloka. The young Swami was among the group. Ganpati Muni was a known Sanskrit scholar and poet, reported to have an eidetic memory. So adept was his memory and mental skills. Having never heard one word in Telugu, he was able in 15 days to totally master the language, both verbally and written, fluently. So good was he that in 1904, Ganpati Muni was given the position of teacher of Telugu language in the city of Vellore. However, his days were spent doing standard teaching techniques rather than practicing in or imparting mantra jap. In 1907, he left his teaching position and returned to Arunachala to resume mantra jap. One day, he was assailed by pains troubles, and doubts. Seeking an alternate solution other than his own capabilities, he decided to visit the young Swami, who was now being said to be living in a cave on the side of the hill. Sometime around noon on 18th November 1907, he climbed up to Virupaksha cave and found Ramana sitting outside alone. He prostrated himself and said, "All the scriptures that have to be read, I have read. All the mantras and japa that have to be done, I have done. Still, I have no peace. Please save me." The young Swami took a little time. For at least 15 minutes, he silently gazed at him. Then, in Tamil, Ramana broke his silence of 11 years and spoke. The English translation of what he said reads thus: "If one watches whence the notion I arises, the mind is absorbed in that is tapas. When you recite a mantra, watch where the sound is coming from within you. When you sing a song or prayer, watch where it is emanating from your heart. Put your attention on that. That is tyag. That is tapasya. That is all."
Yeah, let's
I will
pause
read
there.
it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
read it again. That is so
Yeah.
beautiful, that line.
If one watches whence the notion I arises, the mind is absorbed in that. That is tapas. When you recite a mantra, watch where the sound is coming from within you. When you sing a song or a prayer, watch where it is emanating from your heart. Put your attention on that. That is tyag. That is tapasya. That is all.
And I think we can pause there. It just goes on. Every time I have read this, it is just like, it's like an electric shock comes into you, and he just distills it just to something so simple. It is in you. Mother keeps saying, it is in you, it is in you, it is, I'm in you. I mean, my God, she just hammers us. And we don't, and he just says that. He's like, all the mantra japa I've done, all this I have done, nothing, I have no peace. And he says, you just watch where that eye is coming. And he used to tell his disciples, it's beautiful, people like we talk about the vital and, emotion. And you see them fighting. He's saying, ask yourself the question, who is angry? Who is angry? You just ask and you will get peace right away. Because it is not, it goes to the source. You automatically shift. There is a shift of consciousness. You shift to the source. So that is the only solution. Somebody very beautifully said that I don't know how they worded it, that the best defense that we have in any situation is the consciousness we bring to it. So let us say you're in a difficult situation and you're agitated and all. It's a lower consciousness that you can get. But immediately if you switch to the heart, I think Taru has also said, people have said this, right? You switch. You just put the focus in the heart, right? That's it. No, I'm not going to go into this, because you see yourself going down, and that will bring all other vibrations. So it's so beautiful, because I think this is the key. Every day we have to remind ourselves that this is the key, this is the key, this is the key. I mean, Mother just hammers it over and over and over. And really it is, if one wants, I mean, this is the very direct path, very direct. I mean, yes, one can study books, and it is always wonderful to study and read, because it always, it enriches us. But at the same time, I mean, you see Mother's, this thing, it's very simple. I mean, what she told Udar, you remember me when you brush your teeth, remember me when you, and just like, when you're cooking and, everything, you remember me, remember me. So anyway, thank you, Ritu, for reading so beautifully.
Thank you for that sharing. Reminded me, and I've shared this so many times, but Dr. Anand Reddy had given a small talk on mother, or in general, our approach, like what is it that we are asked to do in the Gnostic Center, maybe 2 years back. And there he said, how he basically graphed that how we were told that do this, and then, there were the aspiration, rejection, surrender, how the integral yoga, kind of kept moving from here. And now he said after Sri Aurobindo's passing and after his mother's passing, what we have just been asked to do is to become mother's child. That's it. And he had basically asked, we all say we love the mother, we all say that we want to be mother's child, but are we truly? So he had, kind of shaken the thing up that it's really simple. If we want to make it complicated and obviously get lost, as we like to do, right? Because we are not able to often pick up things which are simple. Our ego doesn't believe it to be true. So, yeah. Nice, thank you. Uh, of course, any reflections, any time are welcome. So Shilpa has just reminded us that she has set a message on the WhatsApp chat, and since she is working, she can't actively read. So she had sent something which I've copy pasted here. If anybody would like to read it, please go ahead. Otherwise, I'll read. I'll read. This whole spiritual life of the psychic being of all our present consciousness that appears so warm, so full, so wonderful, so luminous to the ordinary consciousness, well, all this splendor seems poor in comparison to the splendor of the new world. I can explain the phenomenon like this. Successive reversals such that an ever new richness of creation will take place from stage to stage, making whatever came before seem so poor in comparison. What to us seems supremely rich compared to our ordinary life appears so poor compared to this new reversal of consciousness. But as soon as this is not an accomplished fact, it will still be a progression, an ascension. You gain a little, you gain some ground, you rise higher and higher. But as long as the new reversal has not taken place, it's as if everything had still to be done. The Mother's Agenda, Volume 1. This is, of course, Mother is talking about the whole reversal of consciousness, but if we even look at technology, if we look at, say, a TV, if we look at a engine, from how and where it starts, if we look at a phone, from the first phone to the slice, the latest small thin phones that we have, whenever we have something, it appears like, oh wow. And yet with more and more and progress And it happens usually so fast that what appeared to be a miracle feels like, oh my God, like so redundant, so old. So even from there, we can see how the successive processes, the progress, it makes the old so redundant. So seems poor in comparison to the splendor of the new world. Successive reversals such that an ever new richness of creation will take place from stage to stage, making whatever came before seem so poor in comparison. And what seems supremely rich compared to our ordinary life appears so poor compared to this new reversal of consciousness. You know how it's, again, we have heard it from various sources, but the first time I'd heard it was from Rumi, when he says that the further I go, the more I see how far I am. So somehow that too is the truth, right? Like as soon as we start looking at the facts, we realize that, oh, so much work is left, or it appears to be because we are so scattered. But as long as this is not an accomplished fact, it will still be a progression to rise higher and higher. But as long as the new reversal has not taken place, it's as if everything had still to be done. Because that seed is still there, it can flower any time of hatred or anger or anything till the whole reversal probably has not taken place. So
I think this is also, I mean, Mother is just, my understanding on is that, I mean, what now seems beautiful to us, it's like we just start discussing the psychic being and, the inner life. At least I think reading it is only the beginning, right? But like there are so many other, the splendor is so vast to go forward. But of course, I think it's very hard to visualize. We are like so far. So then I think sometimes it's so hard to, you know, I mean, that is the thing, right? The beauty of human and the mother. There's like so many, I don't know, I mean, how many 1,000 years ahead, right? So becomes, I mean, just having this inner poise itself is like, how much of a big effort. And then she's saying, after you have that, I think if I read that correctly, uh, uh, sorry, can we put that passage up again, Tarun? I just want to read it once more. Yeah. So she says, so this spiritual life that seems so warm, so full, so wonderful, so luminous to the ordinary consciousness. Well, all this splendor seems poor in comparison to the splendor. So she's talking about the new world, that it seems very poor. That what we are seeing as so warm, so luminous, compared to our ordinary consciousness. It's obviously it's a ever progressive forward movement, which I think something uh, Mother has written about and Shabad has written extensively about as well.
uh, I didn't hear the last part you said. I don't know if you
Oh, sorry.
were talking or yeah.
No, was I cut out? No,
Yeah,
I just said, she's, just, I mean, it's the part that this is an ever uh, ever widening consciousness, right? It's, but the supramental, is compared to the psychic consciousness, this luminous inner poise, inner consciousness that we call, the supramental is so far ahead. I mean, I think that's, but for us, like even the psychic and the inner being seems wonderful compared to, right? When we are in that state of joy and uh, connection with the mother, we feel so happy, right? And then we lose that poise, then we feel miserable. So that seems very beautiful to us. But now I think she's saying what that seems beautiful to you. Now, when you're there and you're established in that, it will seem pale compared to what is to yet to come. That is, I think, very beautiful.
Mhm.
I think what is that died in Savitri? On a height, he stood looking towards greater heights. See, Shubhendu, I mean, he's reaching the summit, he's looking towards greater heights. Oh my God, it's just so beautiful.
Yes, that is striking. And I was even reminded of that line. I don't even remember that line, but something said that, these, like, right now you feel the nature is so beautiful, right? Like we walk in the woods and we feel like, wow, we feel awed. And there was this line which said that this is nothing compared to what you have to see. And one wonders, like what you were just sharing, right? That say, if I am reading, say, Synthesis of Yoga, and Sri Aurobindo is talking about, okay, the regular yoga just talks about, say, point A, B, C, but integral yoga is about Z, for example. And one wonders that if one has not even, say, mastered the ABC yet, then why am I reading about the Z, right? Like that thought comes to me because, when he talks about the developing consciousness or the faltering consciousness, one sees one there. And yet, to even read about something which has to be mastered, and yet, I guess that thing has to be planted within, right? That, yes, I have not even reached here, and yet there is so much more that I have to know and look towards so that that aspiration is intense, and I don't know, there must be a greater purpose. But it's fascinating why then it's revealed at this time when one is not even, at probably ABC. Yeah. Okay. I guess there was more. So it's being continued. So also relates to some of the discussion yesterday. And each time you have the feeling of having lived on the surface of things, it's a feeling that is repeated over and over again. With each new conquest, you feel that until then you have lived only on the surface of things, on the surface of the realization, on the surface of surrender, on the surface of power. It was only the surface of things, the surface of experience. Behind the surface, there is a depth, and only when one enters into this depth does one touch the true thing. And it is the same experience each time. What seemed a depth becomes the surface. Wow. A surface with all that it entails of inaccuracy, yes, of artificiality, artificial and artificial transcription. It feels like something not really alive, a copy, an imitation. It's an image, a reflection, but not the thing itself. You step into another zone and you feel you have uncovered the source and the power and the truth of things. Then this source and power and truth in turn becomes an appearance, an imitation, a mere transcription in comparison to something concrete, the new realization. Meanwhile, we should acknowledge that we don't have the key. It is not yet in our hands, or rather, we know quite well where it is, and there is only one thing to do: the perfect surrender. Sri Aurobindo speaks of the total surrender to the divine will, whatever happened, even in the dark of night. There is night and sun, night and sun, and night again, many nights. But one must cling to this will for surrender, cling as through a storm, and put everything into the hands of the Supreme Lord until the day when the sun shall shine forever, the day of total victory, the everlasting day from Savitri, from the Mother's agenda.
Beautiful.
Now, there's so much that we experience, and yet it's so hard to put it into words. And sometimes, when a lot of times, when we are reading such text, when we are reading Savitri, when we touch places which we have experienced, it feels that wow, like this can also be put into words. So, this felt something like this. Yeah, sorry, Vishal, you were saying, I think you had unmuted.
No, very beautiful.
If you're speaking, we can't hear anything. I don't know if you stop or you're just silent.
Oh, sorry. No, no, no. I think that's, is it,
Okay.
no, I was good. I was good.
So this really stood out, I think, for most of us that, and it is the same experience each time. What seemed a depth becomes the surface. And a lot of times, even in, basic everyday relationships, sticky areas or where we are challenged, suddenly we see something new. And it's like, wow, why didn't I know this before? How could I miss this? Now things, I'll get a grasp on things. And very soon, if, there's grace and all, we see something else. And then the earlier thing feels so superficial. And it feels, yes, now something has been shown to me. You know how they talk about lifting of the veils, peeling of the onion. So same experience each time, a depth becomes the surface. And the surface obviously will entail of inaccuracy, artificiality, not alive. Surface is a copy and imitation, a beautiful description, right? A copy, imitation, image, reflection, but not the thing itself. It gives us solace, it gives us direction, it shows us a path a little further ahead, but it cannot take us the whole way down. Like Mother says, you don't have the key yet. So you feel when, there is some revelation which we are ready for, it feels that we have uncovered the source and the power and the truth of things. And yet, this soon becomes an appearance and an imitation compared to something, the new realization. And it's good to acknowledge that we don't have the key, it is not yet in our hands. Or rather, we know quite well where it is, and there is one thing to do: the perfect surrender that Sri Aurobindo speaks of. knowing there will be night and day, acknowledging that so that I don't just keep jumping in joy for during the day and keep crying during the night. Surrendering both in the morning and night, surrendering both the morning and the night, putting it into the hands of the Lord until the day when the sun shall shine forever. Yeah, I wish Shilpa you could share your bit, but thank you for sharing. This was beautiful. So we are coming to the end. We have around 18 minutes left. And I think let's continue with enunciation. So if we remember, and for those of us who weren't here last time, we had started reading the chapter Renunciation from the Synthesis of Yoga. So it was decided that we'll take up all the sharings and then we'll read something from the chapter. Not something from the chapter, we'll read the chapter, and we had read the first two passages. I'm assuming this part was read and we are supposed to start, yes, for the sadhaka of integral yoga. For those of us who missed it, can look at the recording or just go through the chapter for a continuity. So this is renunciation from Synthesis of Yoga. It's a big passage, so maybe we can just take a little bit. Anybody, if they have the capacity, they can read. Otherwise, I will. I'll read. So Sri Aurobindo says, for the sadhaka of an integral yoga, none of these reasons are valid. With weakness and selfishness, however spiritual in their guise or trend, he can have no dealings. So he has first, told us about how the weakness, like we feel that it's so hard or it's so tough, so we can just shrug it, we can just ignore it. So for that, he's saying that for the sadhak of integral yoga, none of the reasons are valid. With weakness and selfishness, this very profound, and we see this in so many different readings. However spiritual in their guise or trend, he can have no dealings. A divine strength and courage and a divine compassion and helpfulness are the very stuff of that which he would be. They are that very nature of the divine which he would take upon himself as a robe of spiritual light and beauty. The revolvings of the great wheel brings to him no sense of terror or giddiness. He rises above it in his soul and knows from above the divine law and the divine purpose. So when things are going, how we were talking about night and day and day and night. So night does not scare him. He's not scared of, afraid of, terrified of anything that he has to face. How from Juan's sharing, it was very beautiful where he said it's forbidden for you not to try, not to attempt. So the same essence I'm feeling here. So the revolving, that chakra that we talk, the fate, wheels fate, brings in no sense of terror or giddiness. He rises above it in his soul and knows from above the divine law and divine purpose. He doesn't see the happenings in a superficial way. He sees the greater thing behind it. He's able to see the divine law, the divine purpose. The difficulty of harmonizing the divine life with human living. So again, what Juan was sharing. So the difficulty of harmonizing the divine life with human living, of being in God, and yet living in man is the very difficulty that he is set here to solve and not to shun. So he was talking about the basic how, renunciation works. It was shunning of material life, shunning of family life, shunning of the suffering that no, I don't know how to do anything about it, so let me just walk away. It's too hard, it's too tough. But here Sri Aurobindo is saying that we know that there is difficulty in harmonizing the divine life with human life, of being in God and yet living in man is the very difficulty that he is set here to solve and not to shun. So we might, for when things get too tough, we might just shirk back, right? We have said, I don't want to look at it yet. And yet we know this is something we have to look at, but it's good to, gain some strength. So we are not talking about pauses. We are not talking about stepping backs, but we are talking about completely shunning. So he has learned that the joy, the peace, and the deliverance are an imperfect crown and no real possession if they do not form a state secure in itself, inalienable to the soul, not dependent on aloofness and inaction, but firm in the storm and the race and the battle, unsullied whether by the joy of the world or by its suffering. So, how we were talking about like the sadhus that basically leave the grahas, right? And they escape. They're looking for an escape. So to that, again, this and more, of course, one can see that, but a sadhak, a true sadhak, has learned that the joy and the peace and the deliverance, which you obviously get if you just close your eyes and say the pain does not exist, there would be some joy and peace and deliverance, but they are an imperfect crown. Crown it appears to be, but it's an imperfect crown and no real possession if they do not form a state secure in itself, right? Established in itself, inalienable to the soul. That's such a beautiful way of saying it. The soul knows it's not alien to the soul and not dependent on aloofness and inaction. A lot of times when things get tough, we become aloof. We say, let's not, I will not even look there. So not dependent on aloofness and inaction, but firm in the storm and the race and the battle, unsullied, whether by the joy of the world or by its suffering. So, any reflections on this? What we have read till now? There were some messages. Okay. So, yeah. So, moving forward, the ecstasy of the divine embrace, the ecstasy of the divine embrace will not abandon him because he obeys the impulse of divine love for God and humanity. Or if it seems to draw back from him for a while, he knows by experience that it is to try and test him still farther, so that some imperfection in his own way of meeting it may fall away from him. So even when he's feeling, sometimes we feel that, oh, I'm not feeling the love, I'm not feeling the grace, then also he knows that This is also a test. This is also a test which is trying the God, obviously, because we say, we are not here for comfort and conveniences. The purpose of life on earth is progress. So he knows that his beloved, his divine, is again trying to perfect something more in him so that his imperfections may fall away from him. One thing that I learned very soon, and a lot of us would know this, that reading the work of Sri Aurobindo, like Life Divine especially, it's like a meditation in itself because it involves a lot of focus, right? Like the lines are so big that if we get lost in our thought, we lose it. And then by the time we are back, like even if we have missed two words, we miss the essence. So it's like a meditation and it demands our full alertness and attention. We cannot get lost. We must not get lost if, we are taking out the time to read it. Because then it feels like, what is happening? Chal kya raha hai? So we have to stay with it. Just not saying we would not be, but just sharing some personal surprises there. Okay. So, personal salvation he does not seek except as a necessity for the human fulfillment, and because he who is himself in bonds cannot easily free others. I don't know if that can be said more beautifully. Rereading this, personal salvation, it is quite funny because so much or all our life is about personal salvation. And here Sri Aurobindo is saying that personal salvation he does not seek except as a necessity for the human fulfillment. And because he who is himself in bonds cannot easily free others. Though to God nothing is impossible. So even if he is in bonds, he can free others because to God nothing is impossible. That's why the word easily. For a heaven of personal joys, he has no hankerings, even as the hell of personal sufferings has for him no terrors. One thing is kind of being repeated to us today is that this terrorizing or over attraction, this night and day, we'll have to stop jumping at the outer circumstances now. So for a heaven of personal joy, he has no hankerings, even as the hell of personal sufferings has for him no terrors. Nothing scares him. So if there is an opposition between the spiritual life and that of the world, it is that gulf which he is here to bridge, that opposition which he is here to change into harmony. So he doesn't let the gulf stop him. He doesn't let the opposition solve him. He's born, he's here. He knows he's being placed here so that he can bridge that opposition, and he's here to change it into harmony. If the world is ruled by the flesh and the devil, all the more reason that the children of immortality should be here to conquer it for God and the Spirit. So it doesn't scare him, these things. He knows that, oh, if it's tough, it's more a reason for me to be here and fighting. And I don't know why I adore these terms, children of immortality. So if the world is ruled by the flesh and the devil, all the more reason that the children of immortality should be here to conquer it for God and the Spirit. So we, oftentimes we stop when we face this, right? We just stop. We say, no, it's too much. My God, this is too much. Or why is there so much bad in the world? Why is there so much horror in the world? But if we stop, then that's it. The work stops, right? So the right approach is when we realize this, we realize that this is more a reason for us to spring forward with greater effort, greater courage, greater surrender. If life is an insanity, then there are so many million souls to whom there must be brought the light of divine reason, right? What we do is usually mostly the opposite, right? If something is insane, we shirk. We say, no, no, I don't want to go there, it's too much. But Sri Aurobindo reminds us, tells us in his beautiful words, that if life is an insanity, then there are so many million souls to whom there must be brought the light of divine reason. If a dream, yet is it real within itself to so many dreamers who must be brought either to dream nobler dreams or to awaken. How beautiful. So if a dream, yet it is real within itself to so many dreamers who must be brought either to dream nobler dreams or to awaken, or if a lie, then the truth has to be given to the deluded. Nor if it be said that only by the luminous example of escape from the world can we help the world. Shall we accept that dogma, since the contrary examples of great avatars is there to show that not only by rejecting the life of the world as it is can we help, but also and more by accepting and uplifting it. So that's what the avatars have come here to tell us, because they have been born in this, this mire and this filth. We can escape, but that would be a rejection of life, and one can help more by accepting it and uplifting it. Just the last line. And if it is a play of all, if it is a play of the all existence, then we may well consent to play out our part in it with grace and courage, well take delight in the game along with our divine claim. So, if it is a play of all existence, after saying all this, he's saying, and if it is a play, a leela, if we accept that, then we may well consent to play our part in it with grace and courage rather than crying and complaining and crying more. Let us take delight in the game along with our divine playmate. So not Maya, but Leela, laughing with the one who's technically laughing. So really beautiful. So this was a third paragraph from the chapter Renunciation from the Synthesis of Yoga. So we will stop here. Thank you for joining in and for staying till the end. Thank you for your sharings. Much appreciated to grow with, all these beautiful and powerful paths that we are led to. So thanking grace, thanking divine for this beauty and this light, sharing the merit, if any, from all our karmas, our actions, our thoughts, our good deeds with everyone. May all lives be full of joy. May there be no suffering. Thank you.